is as follows. All candidates are invited to answer our questionnaire. Following the questionnaire, a candidate forum is held where candidates are allowed to speak about themselves, their platform, and why they think they would make the best candidate for the job. In this forum, candidates will be given 3 minutes for introductions, then we will move into questions. Each candidate will be provided 1 minute to respond to each question. Following the forum, members who have paid dues and have attended one meeting within the last year will vote on which candidate to endorse in the race, or if no endorsement will be given. To clarify, the membership at large selects endorsements, not the executive board. Our organization does not take kindly to threats or insinuations of corruption within our process. And so with that said, we will get started with candidates' introductions, and we will proceed in ballot order with the three candidates who completed our questionnaire. So we will start first with Mr. Jim Dallas. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Sydney. I am Jim Dallas. I am obviously running for 8th Ward Alderman. I think everybody knows here that this is a seat to fill Mayor Spencer's vacated spot. The term of the first vacated period will be about 20 months. So the next primary is in March of 2027. This is a special election. It's not a primary leading to another general election. This election is the one to decide who the next alderman will be for Ward 8. The election is on July 1. I am married to my wife, Andrea. We have 3 older sons. We moved to Soulard in 2018, and in 2020 really started getting involved into our neighborhood. I ran for president-elect of the Soulard Restoration Group. Fortunately, I was elected, and that was right around the time that the pandemic started. But I still jumped into the role and enjoyed it wholeheartedly. I had retired from a company called Reinsurance Group of America out in Chesterfield in 2020. I had retired right before the pandemic hit. So I was we actually had 2 of our older children move back in with us, one from Chicago, one from New York, displaced by the pandemic at the time. I'm an actuary with 35 plus years of experience in math, finance, accounting, and law, working for insurance companies or reinsurance companies for my entire career. I feel that my combination of business background, meeting with people from the C-suites, chief executives, CFOs, and chief actuaries, along with my neighborhood advocacy since becoming president of SRG, Soulard Restoration Group, makes me an ideal candidate to bring that experience and knowledge to the 8th Ward. The 8th Ward is made up of 13 diverse neighborhoods. About half of downtown is in the 8th Ward, and whatever alderman is seated for this ward will have a key role in any revitalization of downtown. But we also have to just get back to the basics of making sure that potholes are filled, trash is picked up consistently for everybody, and that neighborhoods don't necessarily have to spend their own money to get their streets plowed, which is being contemplated in Lafayette Square. So my vision is that I will be a very active, accessible, and responsive alderman. That's what I like to do. I like to roll up my sleeves and figure out solutions for things. And I think that I will be that as an alderman for all of the 8th Ward. I'm not sure how close that was to 3 minutes, but
You hit it right on the nose. It just
all
went
right.
up. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Sydney.
All right, and the next going in ballot order is going to be Jamie Cox Antwi.
Thank you, Sydney. And good evening, everybody. My name is Jamie Cox Entwy, and I am also a candidate running for 8th Ward Alderperson. My background is that I got started in serving community when I was just 14 years old. I started as a community organizer in my community. I've been a lifelong St. Louisan and actually grew up in University City at the time when there was a lot of violence going on in my community. and I started a youth organization to help address that violence after we unfortunately lost a classmate to gun violence. Ever since then, I've been dedicated to community. I actually went and got a bachelor's degree in public policy from Vanderbilt University. And then I went on to get a master's degree in global affairs. I was the first person in my family to ever actually leave St. Louis for my education. But I always knew I wanted to come back and serve the community that raised me. And so I did. And I've been here ever since. I live in South City, actually in McKinley Heights now, with my partner and my daughter, who's 8 months old. And the reason that I'm running for alderperson is that I care deeply about the future of my city and the future of St. Louis. I think I'm the right candidate to serve this community because I not only have experience, but I have a vision that can help St. Louis move forward. And that vision is threefold. I first want to help grow our neighborhoods and grow our community. I work in community development. That's what I do in my day job. I work in the affordable housing industry, where I've helped to invest and create affordable housing, not only in the city of St. Louis, but actually around the country. And I think one of the ways that we help make our community stronger is that we make our communities a place where everybody can afford to live a high quality life. And I think we do that by creating more affordable housing, not only in high attractive areas, but also areas in our neighborhoods that have been struggling. The second thing I want to do is empower our neighborhoods and all of the neighborhoods of the 8th Ward. Jim was correct that the 8th Ward is a very diverse community. It has neighborhoods going all the way up north, like Laclede's Landing, and then all the way south to Carondelet. And what that means is that the alderperson that represents the seat has to be someone that can engage with every single corner of the ward with its racially and economically diverse makeup. And what I want to do is help make sure that all of our neighborhoods are strong by working to empower our neighborhood partners, our neighborhood organizations to be able to speak up and advocate for the things they want to do. And I think that's one of the most essential jobs of an alderperson. And then the last thing I'll say, agreeing with Jim that we have to make our communities safe and vibrant places. Like I said, I have a young daughter. I'm a mom. I care deeply about making sure our neighborhood is a safe place that she can go and walk and experience parks and walk to school. And I think the way we do that is by making sure we're empowering our neighborhoods to be safe and vibrant communities in every corner of the ward. So those are the reasons that I'm running tonight, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You all are hitting it like right on the nose. And then next is Mr. Shedrick Kelly.
Good evening, and thank you for having me and us, actually. Uh, just to start, I am a lifelong St. Louisan. I am 44 years young. I'll be 45 this August. I'm a proud father of 8. My wife and I live in McKinley Heights, and we've been here, been in the ward a little over almost a decade now. Currently, I am the vice president of the McKinley Heights Neighborhood Association and the 8th Ward Democratic Committee man. I am running, and the real reason is because I love St. Louis. I've been here my entire life. I want to help the people. I'm about the people. It's all about community organizing. As a member of the organization Black Struggle, I got my start there. I also worked with CAPCAR, which is the Coalition Against Police Crimes and Repression, as well as the St. Louis City Civilian Oversight Board. So for me, it's always been about being rooted in community work, organizing, and helping the people. And that's what I've always wanted to do, which is why I've been running, which is why I'm here running again. Because that mission, that goal has never been different for me. This is not about an open seat. This is about continuing the work that I've been doing for almost a quarter century. I love the people of St. Louis, and I will continue to work. In my day job, I've been a business analyst and a project process manager for almost two decades. And that started at Expressbridge, which is now Evernorth, and it continued at Wells Fargo, and then on to St. Jude's Children's Hospital for cancer research, as well as now for a brand ambassador, as well as project manager for Underdog Fantasy Sports. I am deeply, deeply honored to be here tonight, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all. And I have a lot of ideas and things that I would like to do for the city, but I also know that that takes collaboration. collaboration in which I have built a rapport and been known throughout the city to work with current sitting alders, as well as others in the realm of public service. I know that at times this can be a thankless job, which is why I put my name in the hat to run for the committee man, even though it's an unpaid position, because I care that much about the city. I have other responsibilities, but I know that the people come first, because without the people, we have nothing. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you tonight, and thank you.
All right, thank you all. Now we will move into questions. We had some questions submitted by our members beforehand. So I'll just pick through a pool of those questions that we had submitted to us. If anyone is also on the Zoom and has a question that they'd like to have answered as well, feel free to throw it in the chat and I'll try to work it in there as well. But all candidates will get 1 minute to respond to each question.
Sydney, may I ask how many people are on the STL Young Dems picture there? Is that a group of people or is that one person?
On the on the
STL
Zoom
Young Dems.
as the participant,
Yes.
it's likely just one person, probably our president who controls the Zoom account.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Uh-huh. But this is also being live streamed and recorded, so there might be some folks who are watching us on the live stream, and then there's some people who might go back and watch it later as well before they vote
Okay.
before it closes, which I believe is on Sunday. So yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question that I have is where do you stand on right to work? And I'm gonna try to, just to make it fair, I'm gonna shuffle the order around a little bit. So I'm gonna start with the second person, and then on the next question, start with the third person, and then go back to the first person, if that makes sense. Okay, so where do you stand on right to work? Jamie, if you'd like 1 minute. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. And I do not support right to work. So right to work is a policy that was actually designed by Republicans to trick voters into actually making it harder for our union organizations to be able to unionize, collect union dues. And make it harder for our unions to actually have the tools that they need to thrive. And I think that this is a very, very problematic policy. I know that the state of Missouri actually successfully defeated this by working with a lot of our strong labor and union organizers to correct this information by the Republican Party. And so I'm strongly opposed to it.
Thank you. And Shedrick, where do you stand on right to work?
Sorry, there's a slight delay in trying to unmute. I'm against it, firmly against it. It's bad for the organized labor and organized workers. There was a study that showed that the states that participate in right to work, actually their people make less money and they're worse off than the states that are against right to work. I have been firmly against it and I will continue to be firmly against it.
Thank you. And Jim.
Well, not surprisingly, I'm against it as well. I worked in the insurance industry for 35 to 40 years, and it was very tough to be a Democrat in that world that's probably largely, mostly Republicans. But I've held my democratic values for quite some time. The right to work laws were designed, as Shedrick and Jamie said, to take away our workers' rights, not really give them rights. So it's always been a tricky sounding policy. The Missouri voters voted it down a number of years ago. But like everything else our Republican House and Senate seem to be doing, they always try to reverse whatever the people's decision is. But I am definitely firmly against right to work laws.
All right, thank you all so much. So the next question that we have is, do you think that the Democratic Party needs to be reformed to regain the trust of young people? And what do you think those reforms should be? And we'll start with Shedrick. You have 1 minute.
Yes, I do think that the party needs to work more together. I think that if you look at the nation as a whole, not just in Missouri and not just in St. Louis, I think that the division in the party has caused us to kind of take a back seat when it comes to legislation and just moving the needle in general for the people. So when we talk about, working with all parts of the party, whether it's the young, whether it's you know, the citywide or statewide level, I think we should all be in line with each other, and it should be clear and cohesive. The message should always be the same as far as where we are in, within the party. I think that the division, it only weakens us. It only makes us look like we're not together.
All right, thank you. And then
And
next,
oh, I'm sorry. You said
go
you
ahead.
wanted some. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I was just saying some of the ideas would be partnering together. That was what I was going to say as far as working together, actually not having siloed meetings and things like that, coming together and having meetings at large and streaming the meetings and things like that. That was one of the ideas to bring it together. Sorry, I meant to say that at the end.
No problem. All right, and Jim, you're next. If you need me to repeat the question, just let me know.
No, I don't think you need to. Um, I was rather surprised at the election in November. Don't think I realized how divided the Democratic Party was in November. And I think I underestimated the impact that President Trump had on the middle of the road voters, and that the Democratic Party was in the end uh, not consistent with this message. Maybe did not have a stronger candidate as I thought she was. Um, but I think we need to come together sooner, especially as we approach the midterm elections, and come up with a strong leader that can fight back against Trump's rhetoric and against a lot of the rhetoric you see it especially from the House of Representatives at the national level.
All right, thank you. And Jamie.
Sorry, I was also struggling to get off mute. Yes, I think the Democratic Party does have a huge problem, especially with engaging young voters. And I think the reason is that we don't have as much participation as we need from young voters in the democratic process. I think the way we fix that is, one, we have to allow people to participate in the electoral process, not only as voters, but also as candidates. If you look at the bell curve of how the democratic process is looking, especially from the Democratic Party's voter participation, we're seeing that the average voter participation age is starting to match the age with our elected officials. So we need more diversity of candidates if we want to get young people engaged back in politics. And what I'll also say is we have to figure out how to change how we're getting our message out. Obviously, we're doing this meeting now on Zoom. We're live streaming it. The recording is going to be available. Doing things like that actually gets young people more engaged in the process. We just had a forum on Tuesday, which my campaign live streamed so that people could actually watch it in a digital space. We know that our world is moving more virtual. And if we want to get young people engaged, we have to start meeting voters where they are and stop doing things the way we've always been doing them. And that's how we'll get young people back into politics.
Okay, thank you. All right, so our next question is, so there is a direct correlation between aldermen working a second job and not sponsoring as many bills, not scheduling neighborhood town halls as often, and not showing up in person in City Hall as much as their counterparts who only work as aldermen. Will you commit to serving the people fully and only work as aldermen, or if not, why do you think you will be a good fit being a part-time legislator? And so we will start with Jim.
Well, I hate to say it, but that's a pretty easy one for me. I'm retired. I have no plans to go back to work in any capacity. I enjoy my neighborhood involvement ever since I retired in 2020, got involved in STLYD Restoration Group. I was a census worker in 2020, walking around with the mask on in the middle of August. That was actually fun and interesting. I worked to expand a community improvement district here in STLYD, which meant walking around and engaging people. We had to get over 400 individually notarized signatures. So yes, I'm used to putting full time into neighborhood involvement, and I certainly pledge I wouldn't have a second job.
All right, thank you so much. And we'll go to Jamie next.
Yes, I'm fully committed to serving people as alderperson and fully committing to the role of alderperson. I agree. I think this role requires someone that's going to be fully committed and responsive to the people at all time, that will be present at neighborhood meetings, that will be able to address constituent concerns, meet with constituents one-on-one, actually be present for their bill votes. So that is something I'm fully committed to doing.
All right, thank you. And Shedrick.
It's without a question for me. Like I said, I signed up to be the Democratic committee man, and that was without pay. And I know it may not be the same level of detail as far as participation is concerned, but that was just one foot in the door as far as showing that I am willing and ready to do the work. I'm not sure why anybody would do this kind of job where you're, people facing and do it part-time. St. Louis is not a part-time city. It needs your full-time attention. And so you can't build trust and listen fully and deliver on things if you're only working part-time. I think you need to be there all the time. And I am ready and willing to walk away from any job that does not allow me to be full-time for the city of St. Louis. And so this would be my only job.
Great, thank you. All right, so our next question is, what are your thoughts on SLDC's incentive reforms in recent years? And if you could make any additional changes to SLDC's incentives process, what would you change? And we will start with Jamie this time.
I agree with a lot of SLDC's incentive reforms, especially in the last few years. I think one of the strongest things that they did was start emphasizing a community benefits agreement process. This is something I've seen quite a lot in the work that I do in community development. And what it allows the city to do is hold developers accountable for the projects that they're doing by making sure they're committing to actually investing in the community that their projects are going to be around. This, includes everything from asking developers to improve the sidewalks in front of their buildings, invest in streetlights. And I think that's exactly what our city needs. If we're going to have strength and growth, which are things that I talked about, we have to have public-private partnership. And I think the city needs teeth to hold developers accountable. And I think SLDC has shown a lot of progress in committing to doing that work. I think we need to continue down that road. And if I'm elected, that's one thing I would like to work more closely with the city on doing is in reforming our incentive structure to make sure that we're not only attracting investment, but we're attracting the right investment from people that are going to be partners in making the city stronger and actually partners in the neighborhoods that they're wanting to invest in.
All right, thank you. And Shedrick.
Well, first and foremost, everything that's done has to be with the people in mind. And I think that with some of the things as far as lacking transparency or, things like I said, again, building community trust, but we also need to make sure that we look at, the return on investment and things like that, that when we're dealing with the SLDC and like the lack of community or limited community input. So I would like to make sure that that's in place as far as, SLDC is concerned. As long as it's community led, community based, people oriented, then I'm here for it.
All right, thank you. And Jim.
Well, I guess I must admit, Sydney, I'm not familiar with what the question is. You said SLDC's incentive process?
Yes, the question was your thoughts on SLDC's incentive reforms.
Incentive reforms.
And I'll be honest with you, like I said, these are questions submitted by our members, so I'm not even familiar with the reforms myself. So
Okay, well, I guess I must admit I'm not either, and I'm not going to try to talk my way around it. I'm just not familiar with what they're asking.
gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Well, we will move on to the next question then. Okay. Our members love to ask hard questions, so the next couple are a little fiery, I guess, or a little bit of hot topic issues. So the question is, in a world where Bernie Sanders, an independent, gets access to Democrats' activation network, when running against Democrats, do we think the local party acted fairly? And we'll start with, I believe, I'm to Shedrick as our first person.
I would say, with the way that the charter is currently written, yes. If it's, charter is law, that is the law that has been written by the people. Now, if we want to say it needs to be updated or changed, then let's move forward and do so. But as far as it stood, we don't want to change the law midstream for situational, situations, basically. So basically, if it needs to be updated, if it needs to be changed, um, in general, then we should do it. We should reform it. We should revisit it. I don't want to just say, oh, well, this is a one-off, let's change it. No, it's like, if it needs to be changed, if it's not correct or if it's not just, then it should be changed. And that's the way I look at it. So in accordance to the way, and I actually like Bernie Sanders, if in accordance to the way the law is written, the charter is written currently, the correct thing was done.
All right, and Jim, you're next.
Well, as everybody may know, I was not as in the middle of this debate or process as the others were. I had gathered my own public information to use for my decision making as far as which voters to target. So I had never even requested the van to begin with. So I really stayed out of the fray for this particular issue a few weeks ago. But I got to say, I can see from both sides of the coin, the two candidates that were involved who wanted access to the van, but it was taken away. And I can also see the DCC's point that their nominated person should have access. And this is the world we live in with these nonpartisan elections, and we need to make it more clear what the rights are of each of the individual parties to give out that information when their person who's not a designee wants to use it.
All right, thank you. And Jamie.
Yeah, what I will say is that I was a candidate that initially requested van and then was not able to use it for the duration of the campaign. I personally don't know any part of the city charter that actually governs how our political parties operate regarding their materials. I don't think that's a necessarily legal decision. I think that's more of a city party association decision. I don't think it was fair. And Sydney, the example that your member gave, I think is a really great one because there are candidates that, do participate and engage in the democratic process, even though Bernie Sanders is an independent. They are someone that has caucused with Democrats, that has helped engage vote for Democrats. And so I do think for the benefit of the city, it is really important that all people who are going out and knocking doors and engaging citizens are able to give that information back to the party. I think that's one of the great things about VAN is that it allows people to not only interact with voters, but give information back to the party. And so I think for candidates like myself that have been Democrats, even though I may not be the Democratic candidate in this election, I've always voted as a Democrat and participated with the Democratic Party in political processes. So I do think that's a loss for the party itself. And for that reason, I would say I don't think it's one, necessarily fair, and two, necessarily in the best interest in the party either, in my opinion.
Thank you. All right. And then our next question is, so lots of things about recent events in the party. Hey. On June 1st, the Missouri Democratic LGBTQ caucus hosted a fundraiser. And later that night they posted the only 8th Ward candidate in St. Louis to show up For the MDP LGBTQ plus caucus fundraiser, last night was the People for Shedrick Kelly. We need to elect people who show up. And so the questions for each candidate are: one, were you invited to the fundraiser? Two, if you were but did not attend, why? And three, if you were not, do you support the community? And so we'll start with Jim.
Well, I guess I can start out with by my question, there was a fundraiser. So you're saying on May 31st there was a fundraiser?
I believe the fundraiser was on June 1st.
Oh, was on June 1st.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I was not aware of it. I believe I would have shown up if I was aware of it and had been invited as a candidate. I do. Perhaps it was maybe because the candidates weren't really finalized until May 30th by the election board. But I definitely support the LGBTQ rights. I apologize that I wasn't there, but I really didn't know it, and this is the first I've heard that such a event had happened. Um, I guess that's all I can say about this particular event right now.
Okay. Thank you. And Jamie.
Yeah, I will echo Jim's sentiments. I was also not invited to this event. Had I been invited, I would have 100% shown up. I've shown up to everything in our community, especially related to communities that I care about, which I'm a strong supporter of the LGBTQ plus community. And I would have 100% been there had I known about the event. That being said, again, I want to reiterate, I am a strong supporter of the LGBTQ plus community. I fully recognize that the community is going through a lot of challenges right now, not only at the federal level, but also from the state level. And I think it's important that all elected officials stand firm and stand up from the things that we're seeing. So I will 100% commit to doing that if I am elected. And again, like Jim said, I wish I could have been there to express that. And I am sorry that I wasn't.
Okay. And Shedrick.
Yes, I was invited by the LGBTQ plus community, and I did attend. I will say it was an awesome time. But something I also want to say too is about accountability. So there are times when being invited, of course, is important, and you look for that. But there's also times where if you're interested or you do care, you'll look into it for yourself. And that's not to take a shot at anyone. It's just to say that there are things that pop up all the time. And if you are interested or you care or you want to be a part of that or you want to know more or be an ally, then you make it your business to look into it. Now, if you cannot attend or you can't do things, understood. I'm saying this, I'm speaking for myself, but it's if I want to be a part of it, or if I think it's important, or if I know it's important, or if I should even have it on my radar, then I'm looking into it. I'm not just waiting for an invite. So I was there, I did attend, and I am proud of the fact that I was there. And also happy Pride Month.
Sydney, sorry, can I ask a quick follow-up question? Did the question state if it was a private or public fundraiser?
The It does not. It just says it was a fundraiser hosted by the Missouri Democratic LGBTQ caucus.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Because, I mean, to that point, if it was a private fundraiser, it may not have been publicized. But again, I don't know. Just asking. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, and then the next question is about state control of the police. So the question says that so we now have state control of the police along with federal funding cuts that make it harder to address the root causes of crime. In light of these constraints, what concrete, tangible policies do you propose to protect civilians from police? And I believe this question we are starting with Jamie.
Could you repeat the question one more time? I'm sorry. I think someone was answering my question in the chat.
Yeah, of course. It says, so we have state control of the police along with federal funding cuts that make it harder to address root causes of crime. So with those constraints, what concrete, tangible policies do you propose to protect civilians from police?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate this question. I think it's really important. And what I will say is that I do think it is unfortunate that we no longer have local control. Local control is something that I was a very, very strong proponent of. But what I will say is I do think there are still things the city can do to make sure that we are holding police accountable and making sure that citizens that do have issues have the ability to address them. Forward Through Ferguson actually published a really great study recently about 911 and things that the city can do to make that process a lot better and protect citizens. One of those things was looking at the way we handle 911 dispatch responses. So I think that's one thing that, again, for people that do have safety incidents that need to have police come, that we have those recorded more accessible and broadened out. And then what I will also say is something that I know people have been talking about is just the disparity between the ability for police officers that are negative and doing negative actions in the community. If there's an incident, they can just go to the county, right? The county has 52, I believe, different municipal police departments. And so that's not making the region any safer when we do have issues with police that are harming citizens, which is not their responsibility. So I think we need to take a look at that and make sure that we're getting problematic police officers out of the public safety system. And that's one thing I would like to do. Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Thank
I was like, we're at 1 minute. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, you're
Sorry.
good. All right. And next, we'll go to Shedrick. Let me know if you need me to repeat the question at all.
No, I do not. So for me, automatically, I'm against state takeover, and the reason why is because local control is it means local accountability. So I think our community knows better what we need in the form of policing than Jeff City does. And so when you look at that, I want to say I want to see better police training and accountability, more community input. That's why when even before now, I was a part of, like I said, joining the meetings with CAPCAR and coalition with CAPCAR as well as OBS and doing that work. I also represented OBS at the Civilian Oversight Board. And one of the things that we saw, our hands were kind of tied with the types of cases that we looked at. This was all about holding police accountable and things like that. But there were files and upon files that were either left out altogether or redacted in a way where we couldn't fully get into what the root issue was. And so it's about pushing for better police training and accountability. And that's why I think taking it out of St. Louis, taking it away from us, it lessens what we can do. I just I'm a big advocate for community-led safety and justice. And I want to, invest in programs that do like violence intervention and things like that. So I remember at OBS, we had a program called Project High Key that were violence interrupters that came between warring factions, so to speak. And they did a really good job of trying to quell issues in the community. So things like that. And of course, I'm about connection, not correction. And so just talking to the youth, talking to, issues, talking through issues and working with law enforcement and not just allowing, it to be like this back and forth between the two and not working together.
All right. Thank you so much. And Jim.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that the state and Jefferson City keeps interfering with the city, both the police takeover and then a lot of the interference with our earnings tax and how we collect the earnings tax. I'm just getting a little tired of it. But if our local regulations are not strong enough, then that's what we open ourselves up to, is that kind of scrutiny. So yes, I'm disappointed that the state has taken over over the police department. I did speak with one citizen who happened to be a policeman here in STLYD, and he was actually a little bit happy about it. He was saying that some of the systems that are in place, he never knows what's going to be deducted from his paycheck. So he's a little frustrated and hopes that things will get better. But I think that we need to get stronger training and it starts at the top of the police departments to make sure that the police are trained to not be as forceful as they have been known to be in the past.
All right, thank you. I believe that is all the questions that we had submitted from our members, but if there are any other questions from anybody on the Zoom? Going once, going twice. All right, seeing none, if not, I want to thank all of our candidates for joining us this evening for our endorsement forum. Next, like I said, it goes to a vote of our membership. So we will be sending out that link to our members. And I believe that vote is going to be open until Sunday. So shortly after Sunday, you all should expect a release from us stating our endorsement after our membership has had that time to vote. Are there any questions from you all to us about our process?
No questions, but I do want to say thank you, everybody, for listening in, and for all those who listen to this over the next few days. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
All right. Well, thank you all so much.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute, and I was going to say thank you for the opportunity to be here as well.
Of course. Thank you all so much for joining us,
Yeah.
and thank you all for stepping up to fill that vacancy. Obviously, that is a very big step for folks, and is something, and just being willing to be, a person in your community to step up for the other members of your community is huge. So thank you all so much, and I hope you all have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, you too. Good night, everybody.
Good night.